What's good people? It's your boy CJ Randolph, and this is the Just a Messenger podcast, where we're trying to spread the message of love, hope, joy, and peace, and change the world with one message at a time. And oh boy, do we have a special guest. If it wasn't for him and a little bit of push, or a big bit of push, maybe some of this would not be here. But the homie, one of my best men in my wedding, one of the best men I've ever met. Who are you?
My name is Joey Warnken, and the feelings are mutual. CJ, for sure, is one of the greatest guys I've ever met. And honestly, probably one of the first guys I met when I moved here to Houston.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. You were lonely then.
No, I was needing some fellowship, and God provided me an amazing human being.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Yes, I do. When it was just like us 3 or 4.
Yeah, me, you, and Luke.
Yeah, and a day.
Yeah.
A day was there
a
at first.
day. That's right. Yeah. That's right.
So one thing that y'all realize, a lot of the relationships that I have of great guys stem from my men's Bible study.
Yeah.
And this is the foundation of who I am as today, because he was there when I was at my lowest and encouraged me in so many different ways, and helped me be the man that I am today, and helped me do the things that I'm doing today also with encouragement and help. And yeah.
It's been a journey.
Yes, it has been a journey.
And it's still going.
Yeah, that's the beautiful part of it. It's just now getting good.
It is. Yeah, that was almost 8 years ago.
That's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dang. That is almost 8 years ago.
Goes by fast.
Yeah.
Got a little more gray in your beard.
Oh, a little bit more wisdom whiskers on there. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. But we were talking earlier today, and the theme that kind of came up a lot was sink or swim. And I know that has been a theme that you have been an example of and matured in as over these 8 years, right? And something that I have an example of and wisdom for, because I get to have great proximity and close relationship to him and pick his brain about anything, and also add and create. Every time we're together, something is always created.
It's true.
So
God does God things.
Yes. So sink and swim. How do you live that philosophy? How have you developed that philosophy, and where are you at right now?
Where I'm at right now. Well, I'll start the first moment where it was sink or swim, and it interesting enough was about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
My wife and I made the decision to leave where we were and move to Houston. And so when we made that leap, neither one of us knew for sure where we were going to work. Yeah. But we felt that God was calling us to this area. She had family over here, and we made that leap with 3 kids, 2 of them in junior high and 1 in elementary, which was not a fun conversation. Actually, I think 2 of the 3 were excited, but my middle daughter,
that sounds about right.
Hannah, was not too happy about it. But we did. We jumped out of the boat and said, all right, either God is or isn't. And he was. And so first thing we did is we got plugged in right away with our fellowship and church.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that I went to a Bible study and I met a man named CJ. And I learned a lot from you. And that's because that was in one of your low moments.
Yes.
And I was kind of in a fearful moment too, because I was working at an insurance agency when we first met, and thinking that might be the route that I wanted to go. And it wasn't. but you were in a tough spot at that time, and I just remember your vulnerability and your openness, and you're willing to show that and walk through that. But your faithfulness as a husband and as a father through that was very encouraging and strengthening to me, still not knowing what I wanted to do when I grew up, and I was 37, 38 at that time. We made the move here, and I jumped into oil and gas, and then I jumped in back into the industry that I'm in now, which is a consultant and broker in the peanut industry. I now own that consulting firm and brokerage firm, and all of that came to be because of that leap of faith.
Right.
And I had a good friend of mine that reached out to me when we were talking about moving here to Houston, and he said, Joey, I really feel like God's kind of calling you this way, and he offered me kind of a salary, no work involved, but just offered me if I needed some assistance to get here, he would do that. And that was kind of the nudge that I needed to get out of that boat, because I don't think any of us get to a point where we're willing to just jump out on our own.
Right.
God always puts somebody in your life to remind you that He's there for you, and a lot of times that's through flesh and blood.
Right.
And Vim was that for me. It was like, all right, I can move to Houston, and God's got my back. And,
right.
And I try to be that now.
You are that now, paid for, because that's what He's done for me.
Yeah, I've learned that. I've learned the more that I give, the more that I get to receive from God, and not monetary things, but in blessings of feeling His presence. And that comes in the form of joy.
Yeah.
And there's no greater joy than when you can give hope to somebody and encourage them to jump out that boat.
Oh, yeah.
And watch them start to walk on water.
Oh. Yeah, you speaking the premise of the Just a Messenger podcast, right?
Yeah.
The hope. You said hope. You said joy at first. Now you mentioned hope, and we definitely have love for each other, of course, and that's one thing that we've always talked about a lot, is like finding peace. And I'm finding peace in that sink or swim. I'm in that sink or swim aspect now of like, all right, it's go time. Like, it's me and you. Like, I'm tired of being comfortable. You've given me talents and abilities, and I've been living in a shell of myself, and I've been keeping that hidden from everybody. Because I go through different phases throughout the year where I'm just kind of like down on myself, because I know there's so much more in me. And I think the problem is this, come to realize this, transparency moment, that because what I display to people is rewarded with praise, I stay in that comfort zone. When I know deep down, I'm like, this is a third of me. This is not even completely me. But yet those praises and those accolades and oh yes, and feeding that ego and stuff like that keeps me here. But I know deep down, I'm like, boy, you got all this left, and you ain't even showing them that, because you're fine, because that's it. But then you have some people that know there's more, and my wife is also one of those, and they do it with a grace and a loving tap, push, take away and remove all the obstacles, and then be like, now what?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's the beautiful thing of that, of the sink and swim moments, and being able, like you said, I've been there. Now I want to be able to provide some wisdom, some context, some aspect to help others, and like you said, the joy that comes out of that.
Yeah, because it pays itself forward. I mean, when you start to see other people's lives change because they put their faith in God in a way that most other people don't, and you see the blessings that come from that, it encourages me to keep stepping out of that boat and challenging me to even grow more in my faith.
Yeah.
And to not continue to live in what I say comfort, right? Because I think comfort's an illusion. Because at any given moment, something can happen in life and you get uncomfortable.
Right. And
so I think continually putting myself in a position of discomfort encourages me to continue to grow in my faith. And I've found a good way to do that is by encouraging others and helping others to grow in their faith. it strengthens mine.
Yeah, that I mean, I always say, we were meant to be in community with each other, and where two or more are gathered, right?
It's true.
And I've always felt, his presence with a presence of people. And I've always loved conversations, and like I said, like the messages that I get from other people, or a lot of times y'all may see me look up while we're having these conversations with people. I'm like looking, it's like literally I'm having a conversation while the conversation is going on. And I really need to just write down some of the questions that I have when people are on here, because I have like, oh, I get that. Oh, this. But I also don't want to be one of those podcasting hosts or whatever that will stop somebody in the middle of their story. I absolutely hate that.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I encourage you to do this is because you've helped me become a better listener. You have the gift of listening. Most people, me included, it's one of my character defects, is that I'm starting to think about what I want to say while the person's talking. And you've always done a great job of listening and then pausing when somebody's done speaking to make sure okay, I think I understand what you're saying, and then articulate it back. Like, I've always admired that. That's why I think this is a gift for you. Because you listen to people.
That's what I heard. When I listen to people, I hear God. Especially when we're talking about being transparent and open and honesty, right? Yeah. Be honest with God, he'll be honest with you, right? And I think removing that fear of, oh, what are you gonna think about me, or how this, I'm still working on that. Like, I literally just told my kids that I'm not teaching next year, and they surprised the mess out of me. I wasn't expecting what they said, and my youngest Gideon was like, yay, you get to spend more time with us. And I was like, oh, ugh. Whew, that one, I gotta take that one.
Hey, he could have said, oh man, that means you're gonna be spending more time with us. Right? There's another perspective.
Right. You're right. That one would have been like, oh. Yeah. But
it's a good dad right there.
But yeah, the sink or swim, right? That leap of faith. It's the uncomfortable, the discomfort, and the fear that comes with it. How have you been able to overcome the fear of swimming instead of sinking?
Kind of what you said, community. I've got men in my life that I'm in continual relationship with. The Bible says seek wise counsel. And even Christ, when he was on earth, really surrounded himself with 12 men, and of those men, he got really close with 3.
Right.
And I've got men like yourself in my life that I seek counsel from on a daily basis. Literally on a daily basis, I talk to certain men in my life and seek counsel. And I've learned that by taking their guidance, not every decision is how I want it to turn out, but every decision that I make in taking their guidance, I take with confidence that it's God leading me.
Right.
And it makes life so much easier that I'm not trying to make every decision on my own. Because I've got thoughts, feelings, and emotions all wrapped up in me. And sometimes I can't see through the mess of that.
Right.
Especially when I was making the leap from oil and gas back into the peanut industry. I wanted to be able to spend more time with my kids. I wanted to have more time my pastor and best friend Nathan Bryan said, more time for kingdom building, right? And there's fear. Yeah. Yes. And it was going to take a sacrifice of a cut and pay. Right. I knew that because I was being successful in that. But all the men in my life said, look, it's not about how much money you can make, right? You can always make more money, but you can't get back that time with your kids. Yeah. And building the kingdom's more important. And so you know those things, right? You learn those things early on in Sunday school, right? Right. You know, but it's actually taking that leap. And when I had 3 men that I think the world of, both or all 3 give me that guidance that this is the right time to make that leap.
Yeah,
I did so. So to me, that's really the point. When all 3 men in my life, when I seek counsel with 3 men and 3 men say the same thing,
yeah,
I do it.
it's go time.
It's go. Whether I want to do it or not,
Right.
I give up my will. And I say, okay, thy will be done. And I believe that God's will is being spoken through these men because they love me, they know me, they care about me, they know my weaknesses.
Right.
They know my strengths.
Right.
And so I feel like by listening to them, I'm following the will of God. I think that's the biggest thing. Is a lot of people get caught up on. I hear this all the time. When you encourage somebody to do something, you'll always hear this. I'll pray about it. Am I right? How many times do you ask somebody to do something or you encourage somebody and all you hear is, I'll pray about it?
Oh, that Christianese.
And what I've learned, I was the same way. I used it all the time. I'd be like, I'll pray about it. I'll wait till I desire to do something. Then that's God telling me to do it.
Yeah.
No. I never desire to unload the dishes. I never desire to make the bed, right? I never desire to go to H-E-B to do the grocery shopping. But it's not about my desires.
Right.
That's what I learned. It's about obedience, right? It's not about what I think or feel. It's about what is the right thing to do.
Right.
And I think God rewards people that are seeking his will and trying to do the right thing. And so it's not, is this God's will or not God's will? It's with all the information that I got in front of me, with all the counsel of those that I know love the Lord around me are saying, do this. Doesn't matter what I think or feel. That's obedience. And so that's helped me a whole lot.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
Oh, peace and obedience. I was literally thinking about that. In our men's group right now, we're reading the, what is it? Breathing While Underwater, the Spiritual 12 Steps.
Richard Rohr.
Yes, one of the best books.
It's a great book.
Yeah. So we're rereading it.
Yeah.
And talk about sacrifice and obedience. And it was just like, oh man, how many times I was guilty of that, especially at that time.
Yeah.
I'm looking at, why don't you see this sacrifice that I'm doing? I'm being the husband, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, blah, 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 sacrifice. But then my peace came when I switched the sacrifice into obedience. I'm supposed to do this because I made a vow, and that's what it says.
That's good.
It's not sacrifice is for me. Look at what I'm doing. I'm sacrificing. I'm throwing this part of me away. So blah, blah, blah. Obedience is for God. And so now that's when I literally put that burden onto him. You take my burdens. You take this.
Yeah.
And that's how
good.
I understood what Paul meant was like a peace beyond understanding.
Yep.
And it's just like, I should be pissed off right now. I got joy.
Yeah.
I that I don't know why, but eventually you just like, oh, this is what this means. Like, this is what this looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, me included, on we fall in love with the idea of something happening in our life. The idea of a podcast,
right,
or the idea of owning a business, right? And it's fun to just meditate and dwell on the ideas of things and the intentions of things, because we can get emotional responses out of our ideas.
Yes.
And emotional excitement. Oh, I get to do this. Oh, I could do that. I could do that. But it's when it moves into that action, where it actually takes action, that's not a fun idea, right? That doesn't bring a good emotional response, because that's work.
Right.
And I know so many people, me included, you and I both go to the gym. We love the idea of staying in shape, and we love the idea of eating healthy. But when it comes to actually
doing
it, when your kids are bringing home all the candies and goodies, and you know it's leg day, and you're like, do I really need to do leg day? But you know the outcome that'll come from it, and you and I know it because we've done it long enough to see the results.
Mm-hmm.
I think the hardest part for most people when it comes to sink or swim is that because they've never done it, it's truly a leap of faith.
Oh,
you know, it's truly difficult for them to believe in the outcome. Like, now that you're podcasting, you're already seeing the fruits of that labor and that work, so you're excited to go back to it. Just like people in the gym, once they're starting to see results, they love it.
It's not February. We passed February.
Exactly. but faith is no different in that it's like a muscle, and that if you've never worked that muscle, you don't know if it's going to grow. And most people don't. So a lot of your surrounding circles will tell you, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't make that. Stay over here in the comfort. Don't quit that job, CJ. You've got a family you got to provide for, right? That was how it was with Kelly and I when we made the move here to Houston.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. When I did the podcast before, with the Limitless, and that whole thing was like possibilities. It's like when you're comfort, you already know what the possibilities are because that's what you do.
That's so good.
But when you're uncomfortable, the possibilities are literally limitless.
That's so true. That's fire.
And so
tweet that.
Yes, I gotta get Twitter first, but or X or
that
whatever
was
it is.
So good. It's so true.
Yeah.
Like, because one of the things that I'm growing into right now is that, you know, we're created in God's image, and I'm finding this, and I'm not going down the route of prosperity gospel on this, but I will say this is that we're created in God's image, and we have a lot of characteristics that God has because, well, He's our creator, and we're His creation. And with Christ, right, we become one with Christ in our faith. And that's that all of creation was created by a thought from God. God thought, He spoke, things were created.
Right.
We're very similar in that our thoughts can create things as well. Tangible things. Like, your thought of a podcast came before the podcast.
Correct.
And your thought created the podcast. Right?
Right.
And so that's the limitlessness. Limitlessness?
Sure.
There we go. My wife's an English teacher. She's going to love
She's
this.
Gonna love that one.
but you've learned now that you stepped out of that boat and you walk in faith. Well, what else can I create? What else can I imagine? What are the limits? Because either God is or God isn't.
Ooh.
Right?
Man, that's the second time you didn't drop that.
You know, but it's true. Either God is or He isn't. And the more that you step out in faith, which is action, when you step out in faith and in action and you start to see the fruits of that labor and you get to start to see the promises of who God is played out in your life, like, all right, what else can we do to bring glory to Him? Build this kingdom. I mean, He's creating as much today as He did when He first said, let there be light.
Ooh.
I mean, look at it. I'm sitting on your podcast.
Right.
Where were we 2 years ago, 3 years ago, talking about it?
But
we're here.
Yeah.
It's here.
It's here.
Not many men are willing to do what you did.
On my way to Nineveh.
I love that. There you are. You are.
Yeah. Ooh, man. Talking about sink or swim. We talking about walking on water. We talking about getting ate up by fish.
Yeah.
Right? Man. Yeah. God is or He isn't. That's the second time you didn't drop that one on me. I may have to get that tattoo somewhere.
It's my truth. And it goes to what we say, right? Thy will be done. So in the process of when especially when you first walk out and you're learning to be uncomfortable or finding comfort in the discomfort.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
When you're first learning that, I think what I've come to find is that I really have to continually say to myself, thy will be done. Because He'll give you the vision, right? like he gave the vision and spoke to Moses, you know, we're going to take you from Egypt and we're going to put you in the promised land. Mm-hmm. He wasn't prepared for those 40 years in the desert before the promised land.
I knew something was.
You know what I'm saying?
I knew it. You saw I got the position.
So you see what I'm saying? So like he'll give you the thought and the idea.
Yeah.
The details on how you get there, we don't know. So a lot of times we think we're sinking. Oh my gosh, I thought this was derailed. Oh my gosh, this podcast isn't going to happen. Or with this company now, you know, that I'm running with my partner, there's been circumstances and situations where it's like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, that will be done. Either God is or isn't. God's either in control of this or he's not in control of this. All right, so what's my part in this?
Right.
What can I do?
Right.
Right. And then I just try to control what I can control and remember that God's in control of the rest and walk through that. Right.
Right.
The only way to get through it is through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the hardest part when you're first taking that leap.
Yeah.
Is learning that, you know, there's going to be the details that you weren't expecting happen and how you get to where God's taking you. And that's where it's just thy will be done.
Thy will be done.
Doesn't mean it makes it feel better. It still hurts.
It still hurts. But we seem to learn a lot more with pain.
Yeah. You move into, okay, where's my opportunity in this? Instead of God, where are you? Or playing the victim in this, woe is me. God, you told me to do this. I'm doing this. Why isn't it happening?
You brought something up that I said on stage one time. Instead of looking at it as woe is me, it's woe, it's me.
That's so good.
I totally forgot about that to you. It's the perspective, right? Woe is me, or
that's lyrical.
Woe, it's me.
That's so lyrical.
I gotta work this. I gotta take these steps. This vision that I've been given, I have to work it. Because if not, it's not gonna happen. Because God doesn't force us to do stuff.
Yeah.
That's what the beauty of free will is. Or some people may not want the beauty of free will. They just want to be robots and have a burning bush. I'm not gonna lie. I want a burning bush. Take this step here. Do this on this day. This is what's gonna happen. But then, where's the learning in that?
Yeah. Where's the faith?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's you just, again, you brought up a great point that the end goal isn't a successful podcast, right? The end goal is a man who's fallen even in more love with God than he was before the podcast. Right.
Preaching too good, right?
Well, that's the truth, right? And that's where I got to remember that it's not my company being the best that it can be is not the end goal. Yeah. That's the product of me being connected to an incredible God. That'll take care of itself. Like that's the other part about learning to sink or swim is that if God's in it, it's going to end up being the best that it could be.
Yeah.
May not be how I envision it or how I wanted it, but you're connected to a source that's literally creating stars by just thoughts. Right? And so if you're getting connected to that, the byproduct of what you're going to be a part of will be incredible.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of if. It will be.
I will be.
Name something that God's been a part of that isn't successful in creating life.
Yeah. Oh, Joey. The goosebumps that I have.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for you. Like, this is, like, every single Tuesday, I look forward to the text of your podcast coming out.
Yeah, the funny thing is, what you said was the goal wasn't to have a successful podcast in that aspect. It's just obedience.
Yeah.
And I told the wife, I was like, to be honest, I don't think the reward of doing the podcast is what most people do, as in like monetary aspects. It's the rewards in the obedience, and because of that obedience, he's gonna possibly give me something else that's gonna help whatever other aspect of life. And that's what you said. You walk in faith, keep doing those steps, it becomes limitless.
That's right.
And then you provide here, provide here, provide here, provide here, and once again, you just providing for us. And of course, in our culture, we get mixed up with everything of providing provisions and stuff like that. But in a biblical text, like that whole thing is funny because I think we're at like 76 subscribers, and I'm like, oh, sweet, nice. And some people are like, well, you want to scale, you want to do this, and you want to get more subscribers and more of this. I was like, God, go handle that. I think I was playing around when I was like, hit that subscribe button, like one other podcast, and be like, how come you never say that?
Y'all need to subscribe. He didn't. I'm gonna say it. Subscribe. Hit the like button. Comment.
So it's funny because I literally don't crave like, oh, who's watching or who's doing this, or because I get that from people that do text me. A lot of them just text me and stuff like that. But it was never to, first of all, put myself out there. It's to put y'all out there. Y'all are messengers. I'm getting messages. I'm going to take this one, put this in this pocket. All right, I just got slapped with that one, but I'm good, you know. And it's just, that's the beauty of it. And that was the whole vision that God gave me.
Well, and that's why you're going to be successful, because you literally live out the concept that I try to tell my girls. I've got 3 daughters, and 2 of them in college. One of them still in high school, but all 3 of them have heard this, that the whole point in life is for the light to shine through you onto others and not on you. And the men that I love in this circle of podcasts, that's their gift. The gift is that they want the light to shine on others that they talk to, and they can have a conversation with a total stranger and bring out some incredible nuggets, right? Some incredible truths. And you've got that gift. I mean, Joe Rogan is the same way in that aspect. Like Joe Rogan never started out to be the most successful podcaster. He just wanted to have conversations with his best friends. Yeah. and he just got really good at having conversation.
And being curious and inquisitive. And asking the right question.
Yeah. And listening and not judging. Like, you're the most judgmental person I know. And maybe you're just hiding it behind that. When you look up, you're really going, that guy's an idiot. but like, I really feel like you seek to understand people, their circumstances and their situation, instead of taking offense to their words, understanding why those words were said. Right. That's a gift.
That's
most people
just
my
whole life.
chest up and take offense to it, right? And take it personal. And you listen.
I appreciate.
You taught me a lot.
I'm just a messenger. But that's, I mean, my whole life has been like that. Yeah. Like, I've always been intrigued on, like, I can meet somebody and next thing you know, they tell me some like deepest, darkest. I've never told anybody this before. I was like, okay. And at first it used to kind of like freak me out. Like, why are you telling me this? And then I realized it's a gift. Yeah. Like, I've had the gift of being able to listen and maybe look at a different perspective. And I used to give advice and then get mad when they didn't take it. And then I realized I was just supposed to water the seed. That was it. And then I got peace out of that. Yeah. I got peace that I'm not here to convert. I'm not here to change. I'm just here to be a messenger. And what's that message? Just the message of hope, joy, love, and peace. Yeah. Right? And that's being in proximity, and that's being communicative and articulate enough, and showing love. And sometimes that love has to be shown from a distance, because I've had some situations where I was like, I'm done with people. And God's like, no, you're not. Shut up.
Yeah, but you bring up a good point there. I think sometimes you are supposed to be done with some people. Yeah. I think that's, especially in our, those of us that believe in Christ in our Christian circles, we think that we're supposed to be open and receptive to all relationships. And I think some relationships need to have some healthy boundaries set in order for you to take that leap, right? And because you're going to have a lot of people that you're going to make uncomfortable because of your decisions. Ooh. Right? So you make the decision to quit your job and step out in faith and do something. Yeah. the individuals that did not have the courage and strength to do that, how do you think it's going to make them feel? A lot of them are going to judge you for it.
Didn't even think about that.
No. Yeah. And so those boundaries really need to be set too.
Yeah.
And really surround yourself with like-minded individuals that are taking that leap of faith, or more importantly, have already taken that leap of faith. Right.
Yes.
So you can get the guidance from them in that.
Right.
But I think it is important and should be stated that the boundaries need to be put in place with certain relationships that are going to discourage you from taking that leap. And that doesn't mean that you're not, you said it best, loving them from a distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to consider that protecting my peace.
Yeah.
And you, the individual, you are in control of your peace. You are in control of your happiness.
Yeah.
But you can also give it away. No one can give it to you, but you can give it away.
That's right.
I learned that too many times in my life, and I'm done with that. And the interesting thing with peace is that was the number one thing that me and the wife first talked about. Of like, what is something that your significant other or someone in a relationship can give you? And my thing was always, you can't give me peace because only God can give me that. But what you can do, you can help me maintain and enhance it. And that's what she does for me. I pray, I hope I do that for her.
You do. I see the way she looks at you.
My queen.
Kelly still ain't called me her king yet. I'm waiting on that. Maybe that's our next podcast.
That's the next one.
How to get Kelly to call Joey her king. I
Sorry,
think,
Kelly.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
That's all right, though. But we'll work on it. I'll be praying for you.
Thank you.
Oh, man. Yeah. Sink or swim. I'm trying to swim. I'm trying to Michael Phelps in this mug. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep. Yeah. And again, Peter is the great example in that. Is that you had 12 men on that boat. Only one was willing to do it.
Yeah.
So the percentage of people that are willing to step out of that boat, these are believers, right? And this has nothing to do with salvation or faith. This is just not very many men are willing to take that leap, that kind of faith of, all right, either God, you got me, or you don't.
Right.
Either God is or he isn't. And so you making that leap of not teaching next year to focus on what you feel God calling you to do. I got chills because I know God. I know what God does.
Right.
Right.
Because you've done it. You're doing it.
And it's not dependent on you, CJ. That's the beautiful thing about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Is it's not dependent. Now, it's dependent upon my faith and me keeping me and me going and staying in the right direction and surrounding myself with the right men in my life. But if I do that, God's going to do God things.
Mm-hmm. God's going to do
the timing
God things.
may be off. It may not happen as fast as I want.
Right.
But I found this out. I found that success compounds just like interest. That it starts off, your returns are slow, right? But just like as your money grows and compounds over time, so does success. And then all of a sudden it starts happening more and more and more and more and more in frequency.
Yeah. That's good.
That's just my experience and the experience I've seen with other people as well.
Well, let's go out there and be successful, y'all.
Let's do it.
So your message, are you telling me your message of the moment is the sink and swim and God does God things? And as we sum this all up, how would you like to sum it up?
I think that every morning I try to start it with on my knees and reminding myself that either God is or isn't. Mm-hmm. And then throughout that day, when things don't happen as I want them to happen, it's thy will be done. And I say this prayer too, CJ. I ask God, I said, make me uncomfortable where I need to be uncomfortable. And really asking that and seeking that helps me look for moments of growth. But I encourage more people to take that leap, like you took. Like I took. And because God is faithful.
Well,
and and find a CJ. You got to find a CJ.
Find a Joey.
I love you, man.
I love you too, man. Well, there it is. I'm gonna have to write down all these messages. I'm gonna have to hit replay a couple times and write all these messa-gems down. But
thank you for letting me come.
Oh, man, you need to come join me way more.
Anytime.
Cool. So, once again, this is the Just a Messenger podcast. Just trying to spread the message of love, hope, joy, and peace, and change the world one message at a time. So, until next time.